Imagine this: a bustling city street in New York. Horns blare, coffee spills, tempers flare. A man cuts someone off. Chaos erupts. Now, picture London. Same scenario. Horns beep, yes, but a polite cough, a muttered, "Sorry, mate," and life continues. This isn't just stereotyping, it's a clash of cultures. A cultural showdown that pits American intensity against British composure. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, please subscribe, like my video, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next update. Across the pond, Americans are renowned for their directness, their assertiveness, and sometimes their explosive energy. It's a kind of boldness that demands attention, often overwhelming anyone in their path. But in Britain, a completely different philosophy reigns supreme: restraint, subtlety, and a stiff upper lip that borders on the legendary. Now, don't get me wrong, Americans aren't villains, far from it. But when the fiery, in-your-face American approach meets the ice-cold, composed British manner, sparks fly, not literally, but in ways that are endlessly entertaining to observe. Take the classic office scenario. An American boss storms in, demanding results and raising voices, expecting instant compliance. Enter the British employee calmly sipping their tea, offering dry wit instead of panic. The result? A comedy of frustration. The American explodes, the Brit smiles politely, and somewhere in the room, a stapler trembles from sheer tension. To understand why this clash is so amusing, we have to look at history. The British Empire once ruled a quarter of the globe, and surviving centuries of political upheaval, industrial revolutions, and world wars created a population that could handle nearly anything without flinching. Emotional restraint became a national survival tactic. Meanwhile, the United States emerged from revolution and frontier life with a different ethos: seize opportunities, speak loudly, make your mark. Brashness became a survival tool in its own right, aggressive, decisive, often unfiltered. Fast forward to today, the American tendency to escalate, to react, to dominate, now meets British calmness that feels almost mythical to outsiders. The cultural clash is everywhere, from boardrooms to pubs, from sports events to social media comment sections. And every time it happens, it's like watching a slow-motion cartoon where one side expects fireworks and the other hands over a cup of tea. Let's talk about the infamous customer service encounters. Americans are known for their vocal complaints, demanding satisfaction immediately, often with a hint of theatrical fury. In Britain, complaints are delivered in hushed tones with subtle sarcasm, as if the customer is almost embarrassed to ask for anything. One viral example comes to mind. An American tourist at a London cafe tried to loudly demand a refund over a soggy sandwich. The British barista didn't flinch, didn't raise their voice, they simply nodded, said, "Noted, sir," and carried on polishing glasses. The American stormed off, flabbergasted. To the British audience, this is comedy gold, the calm endurance of the everyday, outshining bluster at every turn. Even in sports, this contrast is striking. Take football matches. American fans cheer, shout, wave flags, sometimes borderline riotous. British fans, they sit, they watch, they heckle with ironic understatement, and occasionally explode in glorious, controlled eruptions that are somehow even funnier because they're so contained. There's a certain poetic justice when British calmness prevails over American aggression. Consider negotiations. The American approach: push hard, speak loudly, intimidate. The British approach: listen, remain poised, drop in a witty remark, and let the opponent exhaust themselves. Time and again, the calm, understated style prevails, not with fire, but with strategic patience. Even in everyday life, this philosophy shines. Picture a London tube delay. An American commuter might shout, rant, and demand immediate action. Meanwhile, a Brit will sigh, check their watch, offer a wry observation, and carry on as if nothing happened. Over time, this ability to absorb chaos without losing composure creates an aura of superiority, at least from the perspective of anyone observing the clash. Why is this so endlessly entertaining? Because it's not just cultural, it's fundamentally human. Watching someone explode while another stays calm taps into an innate fascination, the triumph of patience over impulsivity. It's like watching a slow-motion duel where one fighter throws wild punches and the other simply sidesteps, never breaking stride. For British audiences, there's the extra layer of smug satisfaction, gently watching Americans unravel, all while maintaining dignity. For everyone else, it's a universal comedy: chaos versus control, noise versus nuance, fire versus ice. While we can laugh at these clashes, there's a takeaway here. In a world dominated by rapid reactions, loud voices, and instant outrage, there's something profoundly powerful in maintaining calm. The British way isn't just tradition, it's strategy. Humor, patience, and subtlety can defuse situations that raw aggression cannot. The next time an American frenzy threatens to overwhelm a situation, remember, there's always a quiet cup of tea waiting on the other side. Calmness, wit, and composure can sometimes do more than shouting ever could. Let's go further. Beyond the obvious examples, this clash is reflected in politics, media, and entertainment. Think of British dry humor in shows like The Office or Fleabag. Americans might respond with outrage, hyperbole, or loud laughter, but the British deliver it with understated precision, often letting the audience catch the joke after a beat. Even in diplomacy, the difference is striking. Americans are often fast-talking, hand-waving, overtly expressive. British diplomats? Polite, measured, patient. Sometimes it feels like watching a storm try to batter an immovable cliff. Eventually, the storm tires and the cliff remains perfectly composed. And of course, in everyday interactions, driving, queuing, small talk in cafes, Americans bring energy, noise, intensity. Britons bring order, humor, and an unflappable calm that makes outsiders wonder if they're witnessing magic. By now, the lesson is clear. Calmness is an art, a weapon, and sometimes the ultimate form of subtle revenge. When American brutality meets British composure, it's not a battle, it's a performance, and the audience always loves it. So far, we've seen calmness as a shield, a strategy, and occasionally a weapon. But let's dig into the moments where British calmness doesn't just survive American aggression, it actively humiliates it in the most hilarious way possible. Take customer service disasters. Americans might storm a store, demand refunds, record videos for social media, or even threaten legal action. In Britain, the staff might respond with one perfectly timed phrase, a polite, "I see," or a deadpan, "right then." The Americans' fire meets a wall of humorless calm, and suddenly, they're the one looking ridiculous. Then there's the classic online clash. American users often comment with capital letters, exclamation points, and emotional tirades. British users? They reply with a single sentence dripping in irony, leaving the aggressor fuming while the audience quietly chuckles. Sometimes, less really is more, and the Brits have perfected this digital art form. Even in politics, this contrast is undeniable. American political debates often descend into shouting matches, dramatic gestures, and soundbite warfare. Across the Atlantic, British politicians might counter a fiery argument with a single calm retort that hits harder than any scream. Think of it as verbal judo. The louder they push, the smoother the Brit throws them off balance. Finally, sports fans provide a goldmine of examples. Americans cheer, scream, wave banners, sometimes verge on chaos. British fans? They sit, sip beer, mutter dry observations, and occasionally erupt in such controlled, ironic jubilation that it makes the entire stadium and the internet erupt in laughter. By now, the pattern is clear. In a world full of noise, the quiet ones have an edge. British calmness doesn't just withstand American aggression, it turns it into comedy, into a lesson in patience, and into content that keeps everyone watching. So, next time someone loses their cool, remember, sometimes the ultimate power move is a raised eyebrow, a sip of tea, and a perfectly timed, understated remark. Calmness wins, wit triumphs, and chaos, well, it just keeps providing entertainment for everyone else.